What's up, guys? ATCG here. Welcome back to Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck of the Day. And today we're having a hero deck profile, but not just any hero. This is with the old classic vanilla elemental heroes, because we tend to forget how the deck actually started. And if you see all those standard hero deck profiles right now that are going on, then the deck becomes pretty dull. So let's have something different for a change. I'm going to show you how you can play the elemental hero deck while having the old classic ones in your deck while still being a competitive, decent deck. And disclaimer, I am not running the evil hero package, so this is also for those budget fans out there that do not want to break a bank in order to play this deck, because the deck has become very expensive. And it's actually sad, because this is one of those fan favorite decks that a lot of people want to try, but they just don't have the budget to do it. So yep, this is the deck for you. So let's begin, and I'm going to explain exactly how the vanilla heroes actually have their own purpose in a hero deck. So we have one Burstinatrix, one Avian, one Sparkman, and one Neos. You can include Clayman if you like Clayman. I'm just not a big fan of it, so it was easy for me to cut it. The small vanillas are just there for filler, in order to be able to have different monsters. Neos is actually mandatory because of his level. I'll explain why once I get to the extra deck. But pretty much they serve for fusion material, or maybe some or link material because of a certain card I play. So that's why they're here. Like I said, this is not the optimal hero build, but this is the most fun hero build. Next up, 3 Stratos. Of course, if you want to play heroes, now since Stratos are 3, you got to play 3 Stratos because it only controls your opponent's back row and searches you all the heroes you want. 3 Shadow Mist. In a standard list, you would most likely see 2, but I feel like 3 is actually important because you want to up your elemental hero count in order to be able to use them as link materials when you use the spell card I will show you later, but also needing more fusion material because the actual vanilla heroes are all different attributes. So Shadow Mist being dark is actually important because none of the others are dark, so you can actually go into Sunriser with your Super Polish, so you actually want to draw Shadow Mist. For the one-off elemental heroes, play 1 Solid Soldier, of course, because there's a play with Mask Change, still of course in this deck, because Dark Law kills pretty much 90% of the meta. 1 Liquid Man to dig your deck faster and also bring back monsters. And being water is actually very, very important. And 1 Honest Neos to be able to close out games. Now, the only Destiny hero I play in this deck is Trimalicious. I don't run the Destiny hero full package either with Destiny Fusion, Dynattack, and Plasma. The reason being is because it actually locks you into dark heroes, and this deck actually wants to summon various attributes. So just having Malicious for your Vion or your Faris discard is actually really good, because Malicious is a free extender in the deck. So that's why he's here, but not the full package. Maybe not running Plasma hurts your turn 1 plays a little bit, because I don't run Dystopia either. So the best thing you can end on going first, of course, is Darklaw. But sometimes Darklaw is enough on his own to win the game, and this is actually a going second deck because you want to be able to OTK your opponent with your big fusions. And for the Vision heroes, 3 Faris, 2 Increase, and 2 Vion. Standard, pretty standard. I don't think there's any reason to play any more or any less than these. And for the spells, 1 Hero Lives. This is actually very important in this version because I wanted to include a certain card in this deck, not necessarily because I think it's good, but because of the artwork and the nostalgia that it brought. And this is the next card, Generation Next. So I need a card that cuts my life points. I thought about adding Instant Fusion in the deck, but I didn't feel like it did anything specifically good for this deck. So it's either whether my opponent will deal damage to me, or I open with Hero Live so I can use this card, because it's a quick play that when your opponent's life points are higher than yours, you can special summon or add an elemental hero, Karibo, or a Neospatial monster from your deck with less than the different or equal to the difference, but you cannot use its effect that turn. So basically, it's kind of a follow-up card. It's not optimal, but I mean, just look at that artwork. It's absolutely amazing. I could not play an OG elemental hero deck and not include such a card, because this is the first scene from the opening in GX. 3 Emergency Call, standard, search all your elemental heroes, especially in this build, because you actually do run a lot more elemental heroes than the other builds. Rhoda, same reason. Foolish, because it's an extender, and this can actually search Faris, because Faris is level 5, so you cannot actually search it with Rhoda, but Foolish, you send Sadomish, search whatever you want. 2 polymerizations. Again, in a standard build, you will most likely see 1, because it's probably considered a brick. But in this build, you want to be able to fusion summon as consistently as possible, and this also makes full use of your Vion during the late game as well. Same thing with Miracle Fusion. You search this with your Sunriser, because I play 2 of that as well. Elemental heroes are various types, various attributes, sorry. So it's very easy to summon multiple Sunrisers in this build. And once again, I'm going to say that this deck does benefit from Master Rule 5, but unlike some other decks, it's still decent now. But Master Rule 5 is not far away from now, so that's what I'm putting out there. 3 Master Change, of course, because Darklow is pretty much unkillable in some matchups. You just summon it, they scoop it to game 2, so why not include that? And of course, since you do play Liquid Man, it makes your Absolute Zero into an Acid, which can absolutely obliterate the back row decks if you just do it, and Acid deals with a back row and Absolute Zero deals with a monster, so you get the best of both worlds. And the card that actually gives some value to playing the Elemental Hero normal monsters is 3 Unexpected Die. You special summon one of the small ones, not Neos, it has to be level 4 or lower. So you basically have an extra body on the field that can either be used as link material for your Cross Crusader or your Dread Decimator, or you can actually use it as fusion material inside your combo. So it actually gives you pretty good turn 1 play. And if your opponent thinks that you're playing something like maybe a Gem Knight FTK, or if they don't know how the deck functions, then this is pretty good Ash bait in some scenarios. Now for the extra deck, 1 Flame Wingman, it's absolutely impossible to say that your hero deck is an original hero deck and not have Flame Wingman in here. Thank God it's easier to summon than just using the 2 actual materials in AVN Burstinatrix because of the next card I'll show you. But it's just Flame Wingman. I wanted to play cards like Skyscraper or Favorite Hero, but then I thought that the deck would be a little bit too unplayable in terms of competitiveness. I still wanted to be a decent deck so that you can have fun and actually compete a little bit with it, because getting destroyed is not fun for anyone unless you really, really love the deck you're playing. But I just wanted to make it a little bit strong enough to compete, so that's why I did not include any of these cards. But Flame Wingman can still use some games with his effect. Of course, when he destroys a monster by battle, your opponent takes damage equal to that monster's original attack. Now, the next card is what makes the vanilla engine actually worth playing, in a sense, because it gives you access to an amazing monster. Not Flame Wingman. Now, Flame Wingman is amazing in its own way, but the next one I'll show you. But now here's Grand Merge. Grand Merge requires 2 normal monsters. He gains attack equal to their combined level times 300, which is why Neos is here, because Neos is the higher level. So he will give it more attack points, because if you fuse 2 level 3s, this is not going to have too much attack. But if you fuse Neos, then it will have enough attack points to run over a monster, and it needs to run over a monster, because when it does, you can tribute it to special summon elemental hero from your extra deck, ignoring summoning conditions. And this is what you usually go for. Nebula Neos. This card, if you can resolve Grand Merge and bring this out, it's very hard to lose the game. So listen to what this card does and tell me if this is not broken. So if it's special summon from the extra deck, you can draw cards equal to the number of cards your opponent controls. So you can get a +3 at least from this. And you also negate a face-up card on the field till the end phase. So it's target removal. Not removal, but you know what I mean, target negation. And during the end phase, this is a mandatory effect. So you have to be a little bit careful to not hurt you more than it hurts your opponent. But you shuffle this card back into the extra deck, and you banish all cards on the field face down. So even if you cannot deal with your opponent's field, you actually want to use this combo when your opponent has full field. Try to make this work. Draw a bunch of cards, end your turn, and banish everything. And you start with a fresh hand while your opponent has lost everything. So this is the optimal combo to use your vanilla heroes. You fusion summon into Grand Merge, try to run over something. If it does, you win the game. That's pretty much how this works. So yep, this is actually a really, really good combo that it's so satisfying when you have the tools to resolve it. So you try to bait everything your opponent has can throw at you with their negations. So we can use cards like Poly or Miracle Fusion, and then you use your second copies or your Link Climbing, and then you actually end on this. And this is what will steal the game. 2 Sunriser. Very, very good addition for the deck, especially for this version of the deck, because you do play Miracle Fusion, so you do want more extenders, and its actual effect's really good. I mean, it boosts all your heroes, and if another hero battles, then you can just pop a monster immediately before the battle, so you can save stuff like your Darkle. If your opponent tries to run it over with something, then you can just pop what attacked it. So that's pretty good. One Absolute Zero, because of the great addition of the water attribute with Lickenman. This card is actually really good. I think it's the best elemental hero monster ever created, even better than Stratos, because you remember the good old loops of some fusion summoning 0 for 0 and blowing up fields. That's pretty much what you do now, but instead you do it with Acid, because you summon your Absolute Zero, set your max chains, then depending on what your opponent's playing, you can either blow up their monsters mid-combo and stop them, or if they're playing a backrow deck and they set 5 and pass, then this is going to be the end of them, because Acid is Harpy's Feather Duster when summoned. So yep, that's pretty good. One Dark Claw, not two. This is not a based mask deck, so you don't really want to clog your extra deck with too many masked heroes. If your opponent can deal with a one Dark Claw, they probably can deal with the second. The second only use is if you have like a chance that your opponent might impermanence it, and you have another mask chains face down, then you can just chain it and bring out the other one so it can have its effect. But that's too situational of a scenario to fill more slots in the extra deck when you actually want to commit more slots for the elemental hero package. One Anki, because when you're going second, you want to be able to push for more damage. And sometimes you can get some cheesy wins with this card's effect that can attack directly by cutting its attack points in half. And for the Vision Hero Fusion monsters, which are actually the most important monsters when you're trying to OTK, which is Trinity, because of course Trinity, 5,000 attack 3 monsters with Honest Neos, that's pretty much brutal against any deck that has any kind of attack position monsters. And one Adoration, just for those scenarios that you either want to lower an opponent's monster's attack in order to run it over, but I don't see a scenario where you might have some too strong so you can run over with this particular deck. But when you have monsters that are not match their attributes, then you need to go for Adoration, because Sunriser needs different attributes. There will be some scenarios where you have a hand like of Malicious and Shadow Mist, or even with the vanillas, we have like Stratos and Avian, and your Stratos search gets stopped, so you want to be able to at least fusion summon something. So that's to pretty much cover all the possible scenarios. And for the links to Cross Crusader, of course, because of Malicious, this is why Malicious is mandatory in any kind of hero deck, no matter what version you're playing, because you can just bring it back with your Cross Crusader, tribute it, search any kind of hero, and then link climb with the other copy of Malicious into either the next two links I'm going to show you. First one's Wonder Driver. Wonder Driver is cuttable in other versions of the deck because I don't think it does a much, but in this build it's actually really good because resetting your polys and your mask chains, most likely your poly, is actually really good because you have so many targets for it, so you can easily keep fusion summoning and build a massive board that will be able to overpower anything your opponent has. And one Dread Decimator, because of course it's the one that boosts all your heroes, especially in this version because you play so many different names. You play 4 different vanillas, so there's a chance that you'll have like 10 different heroes in your graveyard, so you can give a massive boost to all of your monsters. And if you combine this with Sunriser, then your monsters become extremely, extremely big, so they can run over pretty much anything. So, yep, that's the deck. It's a very nostalgic deck for me. I'm a big fan of GX, so if you are a fan of GX too, you will understand why this deck has special meaning to all of our hearts. So, I hope you'll give it a try. Trust me, it's a very fun deck. It's not the worst kind of hero deck you can play. It's still pretty decent. You will win a lot of games with it and have a great time while doing it. So, yep, thanks for watching, guys. Like this video if you enjoyed, subscribe to our channel if you want to see more amazing content, comment down below which decks you want us to make next, and we'll see you next time.